Hi everybody, so we are looking at page 10. I hope page 9 went okay and that you got full marks. We are looking today at time values, which we have done some work on before, and we looked at the semiquaver actually in the first lesson. I didn't think we needed it till grade 2, but I was wrong. So what I'm doing on the page here is just refreshing our memories over what we've done so far. If you can identify these notes and remember what they're called and how many beats, how many counts they last for, that would be great. So these are the answers. So first one is a semibreve and it's worth 4 counts. It's just the head, no stick, no stem. Next one is the minim, which is worth 2. We then have a crotchet, which is 1 beat, a quaver, which is half a count. It's got this head and the flag, remember the tail, and the semiquaver, which is what page 10 is looking at today, which is worth 1/4 of a beat. Okay, so 1/4 of a beat, or 16th notes as we call them, but semiquavers for European language. Okay, so 4 semiquavers, if they're worth 1/4 each, will total the same as 1 crotchet, because remember 4 quarters equals 1. So I've beamed together, so I've drawn together and barred together 4 semiquavers there, and I'm just showing you there what they equal. So 4 semiquavers, and we're going to talk about the beaming in a second. Equals 1 crotchet. So that will help you answer those questions, exercise 1, exercise 2 on page 10. Okay. Remember, it's all maths, so just make sure that with your time signature, in exercise 2, if it's 3 beats in a bar, remember, has to total 3 crotchets. If it's 2/4, has to total 2 crotchets per bar. Okay, so make sure you look at the time signature for exercise 2. Now, exercise 3. Main thing to remember when we're doing this beaming of notes is beams as beats. If you just remember that, you can't go wrong with this. So what we're doing now is we're kind of simplifying a way to draw a pattern of quavers or semiquavers together. You'll remember us saying when we had 2 quavers, rather than having 2 separate flags for 2 quavers, we could beam them across, we could join them together, okay? Same rules apply for the semiquavers as well. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of what exercise 3 is about, and we'll have a look at these together. So this example bar that I'm giving you, 3/4, so 3 beats in a bar, and we know that the 3 beats are all crotchets because of the 4 at the bottom. Now, how would I beam that to make it look easier? Beaming is really to simplify the reading of the music. Now, what I would do here, I've got my first crotchet beat, which I'm not going to beam to anything because it's a crotchet, and then I had 4 quavers. Now, I can beam them in pairs of 2, okay? Because if I want to keep my second beat and third beat separate, I've got a pattern of 2 quavers and then a pattern of 2 quavers for my third beat. So I'm not beaming notes over a beat. So I'm not connecting beat 2 to beat 3. I'm keeping them separate. So where I've marked it wrong there, if you have a look at it, I've got a crotchet and then a quaver and then 2 separate quavers and a quaver. Now I've beamed over from beat 2 to 3, and that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to beam over a beat. So explaining it here again, I've got the green pen out. So I've got very clearly there, I've got my first, second and third beats as separate. Okay, there's no crossover between the second and third beats. If I look at the one that's wrong, because I've beamed those quavers together there, can you see how there's a crossover between beats 2 and 3? So that isn't going to be right, because I want to keep my beams as beats, so keeping my beats completely separate to each other. Okay, that's the main rule with these with the beaming. Okay, so another example, 4/4, so 4 crotchet beats per bar. I'm going to start by drawing 4 quavers and 2 crotchets. So if it asks me as a question example to beam this bar correctly, don't need to worry about the crotchets because we're not going to beam any crotchets, remember, because we're not turning them into quavers. So the crotchets will always stay as they are. The ones that we don't need to beam stay as they are. Now the correct way of doing this, I don't want to beam across any beats. So I want to keep my first beat and my second beat separate. So I've paired 2 quavers and then another 2 quavers, then I've got my 2 crotchets. Okay, that's the correct one. Why? Let's have a look. My first beat is separate to my second beat. So I've got my 2 quavers of beat 1, my 2 quavers of beat 2. Okay, so the wrong way of doing that would be this, for example. If I was to draw a quaver and then another 2 quavers, because we can beam them, and then another quaver there. and 2 crotchets I don't need to worry about for beaming. So it's wrong. Let's have a look, because where's beat 1, where's beat 2? Well, we've beamed over from beat 1 into beat 2, as I'm showing you there. So it doesn't make any sense, and we've not kept the beats separate. So that's why that beaming would be incorrect, okay? Now, one thing else that we're going to look at in exercise 3 is, we've mentioned this before, you can beam quavers and semiquavers together. So here's an example. I'm going to draw 1 quaver and a pair of 2 semiquavers. So it looks like this. Beaming them together, so I can have my beam to make my quaver and 2 semiquavers, and then I just need to put my second beam in the second half of that drawing there to show you my quaver and 2 semiquavers. Similarly, if I wanted to do it this way around, say if I had 2 semiquavers at the start and I wanted to draw my quaver as well and beam them together, I draw my notes, but my 2 bars go at the start because I've got my 2 semiquavers at the beginning rather than at the end, okay? Here's another example just to put it in the context of something that example 3, exercise 3 might look like. So 4/4, 4 beats in a bar. I'm going to have a quaver, 2 semiquavers. So there's my second flag for the semiquavers. Another 2 semiquavers. I've got another quaver. And then 2 crotchets. Now just maybe get a notepad and pause the video. How would I beam that together so it would look correct? Have a little think and then look at the answer in a second. Okay, so remember what I said from a minute ago. Beam as beats. So my first beat, I've got a half and 2 quarters. Now that's the end of the first beat, so I don't want to beam anything after that. My second beat is my 2 quarter notes, my semiquavers and my quaver, and then I've got my 2 crotchets, okay? So you can see very clearly there, and if I get my green pen to show you, I've separated and kept separate my first and second beats. So here's my first beat, so I've got a total of 1. Here's my second beat, another total of 1 for my second beat, and then my third and fourth beats, okay? So again, applying that with the beams, there's my first beat, there's my second beat, then I've got my third and fourth ones there as well, okay? Okay, now we're looking at page 11 and rests. Rests are very important because obviously moments of silence in music are as important as the notes themselves, okay? So for every note, there is a corresponding rest. So rather than the duration of a note, the length of singing or playing, there's a moment of silence that's the same. They are quite similar, so we'll have a look at them here. The semiquaver rest, you can see it has 2 sort of flags at the start of it, like the semiquaver note has 2 flags. The quaver rest that I've drawn there looks like a bit like a curly 7. It's got 1 flag at the start. The crotchet rest, it shows you how to draw them on the page and asks you to have a go. It's like a slanted Z with a C at the bottom, okay? Now, the minim rest is a box that sits on top of the 3rd line. All this information is for your reading at the top of the page as well on page 11, so you can have a look at it. Now, if there was a box to sit underneath the 4th line, so I'm just drawing a line there to show it hanging underneath, that is a semi-brief rest, so it's a 4-count rest, or, this is important, it's a full bars rest. Okay, so if you had one of those, it is 4, or it can be 2 if it's in 2/4, it can mean 3 if it's in 3/4, and it can mean 4 if it's in 4/4. So it's a whole bars rest as well as a 4-beat rest, okay? So how does that work in example to what we're going to be doing on page 11, exercise 2? We'll have a look at the exercises in more detail in a moment, but let's have a look at some examples. So 4/4 time, 4 crotchets in a bar. I've got a crotchet, so there's my first beat, something missing, a quaver, 2 more quavers, and then something missing for my 4th beat, okay? And then in my next bar, there's your bar line, remember, so separates it to the next measure, the next bar, the next section, got a minim, and then a crotchet. Now, there's things missing in that to make it correct, so pause the video if you want, what's missing, okay, because we don't have a total of 4 at the moment. Okay, now there are stars, asterisks, to help you to place the rest in the correct places on the exercise in the theory book. So let's have a look. So my beat 1 is sorted, it's a crotchet. My beat 3 is sorted because I've got my quavers there already. Beat 4 is completely missing, so I've got a crotchet rest that I need to put there because I've got a crotchet that's worth missing. My second bar, I've got my first 2 beats, beats 1 and 2. I've got my 4th beat, beat 4, but there's a whole beat missing for beat 3. So we'll put my total in there, okay? I've got my quaver rest there that I'm drawing in now in pen to show you, because the second beat of the first bar was only half a beat long. It was missing another half. So again, it's maths. If you have a look at it, you can pause the video if you want to. Count those bars up so they total 4, and you'll see that the rest and the notes together make them the correct total. Next one is 3, 4. And I'm just going to draw in a couple of notes, but leave some spaces for rests. Again, pause the video if you want to. Total them up in your head and work out how many beats are we missing in this one here to total 3. Okay, so first bar, we've got a minim, which we know is worth 2, but we are a beat missing to make it 3. So we're missing 1 count. So I will draw my crotchet, my 1 count rest in there. The next bar is completely empty, so we are missing 3 beats. We're missing a total of 3 beats. We're missing the whole bar. There's nothing in the bar, so you can see there referring to the top of the page. Because it's a full bar that's missing, in my stave, you've obviously got 5 lines. So you would find the 4th line, draw the box underneath it. For my whole bar's rest. Final bar, I've got my first beat, I've got my 3rd beat, but my second beat's something's missing. I'm half a beat short, aren't I, to make that bar a total of 3. So I need to draw my quaver rest in there to make it complete total. So have a look at the next page now. So this is page 11, and I'm going to talk you through the example that's shown, and then I'll do the very first bit of part A with you. Okay, so just watch what I'm doing here. I'm marking in my crotchet beats because I know that there needs to be 4 in each bar. Okay, so that first bar, I've got 2 crotchets and a minim rest. There's my minim rest that is drawn in for you as the example. My next bar, I've got my first beat, I've got my second beat, I've got my 3rd beat, which is the rest, and I've got my 3rd beat there to show you a 4th beat that's missing. It's going to be a crotchet. So again, everything needs to total what the time signature says. So what I'm doing now is I'm drawing in my numbers to help me count. Have I got 4 beats in a bar? If not, what am I short of? So there it's marked in the example, you were short of half a beat, so I draw my quaver rest in. Last bar, I've got a minim, so I'm 2 beats short to make 4. I need to put a minim rest in. Now remember, we did one of these type of exercises before. It's one rest per where the asterisks are. Okay, so the first bar is correct. There's 3 beats in total. Next bar, I've got 2.5 beats. So what do I need to write in the asterisk to make 2.5 total 3? The next bar is completely missing, so I need a whole bar's rest. Okay, and then the next bar that I'm looking at now, I've got 2 beats there. I've got a quaver, which is worth half, and a semi-quaver quarter. Okay, finally, finale from Into the Woods. Spend a little bit of time just looking at the image that I attached to the Facebook message and get to know these quavers and semi-quavers. This is a really good example of beaming of quavers and beaming of semi-quavers. I'm just going down the score now just to show you, if you're not unsure, what this music means. We've got 3 lines of music at the top, so because there's 3 groups of singers, okay? That's why we've got 1, 2 and 3 that I've put there in the margins. The bottom 2 lines are for the piano, okay? So you've got there your treble clef and the bass clef that I've just circled that you should recognise. For the pianist, the top hand is the right hand that the treble clef is at, and the left hand is the bass clef. Remember, we talked last week about why treble clef notes are higher on the piano and bass clef notes go lower down. So we know that it's in 4/4. Have a look at the image as well. Remember, 4 crotchet beats, therefore, in a bar for this song. Okay, I'm breaking it down, so just have a look at the image and see how much you can understand. Now, looking at my first bar, fearful is the first beat. It's 2 quavers. Okay, then I've got a quaver rest. So the quaver rest is in between the fearful and the though. Okay, and then where it says the word deep, I start my 3rd beat, and where it says the word dark, I start my fourth beat, okay? Well, why is this? Just to reconfirm, remember it's counting, it's all maths. So let's look at the fourth beat, which is the word dark and though you. We've got 4 semiquavers. 4 quarters equal 1 beat. Okay, we know that, 4 semiquavers. Deep though it's is the third beat. We've got a quaver, half beat, and we've got 2 semiquavers, 2 quarter beats. So there's my third count. Okay, my second beat is a quaver rest, so it's still worth something, even though it's silence, it's worth a half silence, and then 2 semiquavers. So there's my second beat, and then my first beat is the 2 quavers, the 2 half notes, okay? So timing wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, it will go fearful, though it's deep, though it's dark, and though you. Okay, that's your 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fearful, though it's deep, though it's dark, and though you. Next bar, may lose is your first beat. You've got 2 quavers. Second beat is a half rest and then half on the word the. Third beat is your path, though you. You've got a quaver, half beat, and 2 semiquavers. I'm just drawing them in the timings to help you work out these beats. And then the fourth beat is the may encounter, 4 semiquavers. Okay. Looking at group 2, which is the second line, they don't do anything at the start of the song. You can see, you'll recognise that whole bar's rest, the box that sits underneath the 4th line. I've just circled the minim rest. Okay, so the minim rest is going to be a count of 2 beats silence, and then there's a crotchet rest, so their third beat for group 2 is also silent. The 4th beat, they still don't sing on the 4th beat because the 4th beat starts with, look, a quaver rest, so that half beat rest. They come in on the last half count of that bar. We've got 2 semiquavers, though it's. Now if you look at the music, the counter of group 1 is what happens at the same time as the though it's in group 2, okay? So if you're reading this music, you can start to get familiar with how it works and how this music all lines up. When we read music in blocks like we've got here, 3 groups and the piano at the same time, you are all the music is written on top of each other, okay? So it's the same beat, and it's showing you the different layers. I'm carrying on with group 1 on the next section. It's bar 24. There's a little bit to remember. Can you see that there's a little 24 in the left hand corner? It's bar 24. I've circled here and I'm working out where my beats are again. So first beat is a crotchet, second beat is a crotchet rest, third beat I've just circled the quaver rest and the quaver, fourth beat 2 quavers. So that bar is going to go wolves, 2, 3, you can't just. Okay, next bar, bar 25, I've circled the 25 to show you. It's a crotchet rest, the word act is on beat 2, and then you've got a quaver rest and a quaver on the word you, so there's my 2 halves, creating beat 3, and then beat 4 is my 2 quavers. It's worth trying to do that, just say that top line, that group 1 part to yourself with the timings. So if this was a rehearsal and I was clicking it, so this is my beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to go fearful, though it's deep, though it's dark, and though you may lose the path, though you may encounter wolves, rest, rest, you can't just rest, act, you have to. Just have a look at the group 1 line and try and get in your head where those beats are, the 4 beats per bar, because that will help with the counting. And this is just an example. If you know it, you can work out why you know it now from a technical point of view. If you don't know this song, it's a really good way to kind of get to learn a song by reading the music, because that's what you would do in a music rehearsal, wouldn't you? If you didn't know the music, you'd have to rely on looking at the notes in front of you. So it's a really good chance for you to put into practice this reading of semiquavers and quavers and rests. There will be a recording online somewhere as well if you want to listen to the finale and have a look at that page to see how it marries up in terms of a recording as well. So have fun with that, keep going with it. We're doing really good stuff so far, guys. Well done.